Hey everybody, Mrs. Bianchi. We're looking at number 2, which is very wordy, and I think it's very difficult to get through the wording on this to understand which two that you're going to pick, because what do they want? They want you to select the two situations that can be represented by 7/8, which by the way, I have represented here with this green line. There's 7/8 divided by 1/4. Now remember, dividing by 1/4, this is equal to 1/4, and why is it equal to 1/4? Because 2/8 simplified would be 1/4. So if we try to figure out how many groups of this we have just by using the model first, and then we'll look at the algorithm, we have one group of 1/4, two groups of 1/4, three groups of 1/4, and a half. So the answer is 3.5 when we look at the, let's write that over here so we know. Now if we were going to do the algorithm, by the way, for this, that's the same thing as 7/8 times the reciprocal of this, which would be 4/1. And if we went ahead and took advantage of the fact that we have some cross-reducing that we can do, we can divide by 4 and get 1, divide by 4 and get 2. This equals 7/2. And if we rename 7/2, we're going to get 3.5. So we have to ask ourselves, if we were going to answer these questions, which one would result in us getting 3.5 as an answer? So let's look at question A. Alexa has 7/8 liters of juice, so that could be represented with this green line, right? That would represent the liter of juice. She pours it into glasses that hold 1/4 of a liter, so that could be represented with this blue line, which is equal to 1/4. How many glasses can she fill? So there's 1 glass, 2 glass, 3 glasses, 3.5, right? 3.5 glasses. So that's one that we would want to pick because we would get 3.5, and that makes sense. We would do 7/8 divided by 1/4. Let's look at choice B. So A is a yes. B, a family has completed 7/8 of its drive. So this could represent how far they went. Now they didn't do the whole trip, right? Because if they did the whole trip, then they would have done 8/8 of the trip, right? Or the whole trip. So let's interpret this. They drive 1/4 of the rest of the way before stopping for gas. So this is a little bit unclear to me, but if we say that this is the rest of the way, right? If we interpret that as meaning this is the rest of the way, because this is what they already drove. This is what they completed, and this is the rest of the way. Now it's saying they drove 1/4 of the rest of the way before stopping for gas. Is there any way we're going to be talking about breaking this blue piece up into groups of 1/4? Does that look at all like what we're talking about here? Probably not, because they want to know how much of the trip do they need to complete. So they're talking about this little piece over here and 1/4 of it. So that's going to be a no. Let's look at choice C. Of the students in a club, 7/8 were members last year. All right, so that this green line could represent that. Of the students that were members last year, 1/4 were members the year before. So that means we would be taking, if we take this line, like this green line, let's just pretend it's not even broken up into 8s. That means that we would be taking 1/4 of this or breaking it up. We would say that's a group of 4s, that's a group of 4s, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't quite do that perfectly. But if we break that up into 4 sections, what does 1/4 mean, right? 1/4 were members last year before. So wouldn't that mean this amount right here? That would be the folks that would be represented by the year before. Now, if we kind of ballpark that, let's put it back on the number line here. Doesn't that not look like 3.5? That's a much lesser number than 3.5. So that's actually multiplication. So that's not going to be what we want. That would be implying that we're doing 7/8 times 1/4, not the right answer. Let's look at choice D, which is also worded in kind of a funky way. Let me erase some of my stuff from before. It says, Hillary has biked 7/8 miles to the park. She has biked 1/4 of the distance from her home to the park. How many miles will Hillary bike to get to the park? So a little bit wordy. What's unclear is it doesn't really clarify this 7/8 of the miles. Do we know if that's from the home to the park or that's what she biked so far? They didn't really clarify that. But what they do make pretty clear, it says she has biked 1/4 of the distance from her home to the park. So when we say of the distance, how about we use a variable d for distance? And let's write that as an expression. That means 1/4 of the distance, or 1/4 times d. Now, should we interpret that as that amount equals 7/8? I would say, yeah, that's how we should interpret it. It's unclear, but that's how I'm interpreting it. So if we're interpreting that way, and if we were going to actually solve this, aren't we trying to find how many equal groups of 1/4 there are? So if this is, representing some, aren't we trying to figure out how many groups of 1/4 we have in this? So how would we go about solving that equation? Well, what we would do is we would multiply by the reciprocal, which is the same, by the way, as dividing by 1/4. We're really dividing both sides of the equation by 1/4. Now, if we were to finish this up, would we get 3.5? Let's finish to show you that we actually would. So that would all cancel out. We would get D. And 7/8, doesn't that look like this? Look, this here is the same exact computation we have up here. So we would get the 3.5, which makes that a good choice. Now let's go back and make sure that that makes sense. So how many miles will Hillary bike to get to the park? Does it make sense that she would that it would be 3.5 miles? Because remember, the 7/8 is really just 1/4 of the trip, right? So that means we would need to clone this thing 4 times, and we don't even have room on the screen. But see, we'd have to clone, if that's only 1/4 of the trip, we have to clone this thing 4 times to get the actual distance, right? That's what that really means. So D is a yes. All right, let's look at choice E. A triangle has a base of 7/8 of an inch. So let's visualize our triangle here. And let's visualize this line as being 7/8 of an inch. All right, now what they're saying here is they're saying the height of the same triangle is 1/4 inch greater than its base. So if we were going to try to figure out how long that line is, the height of this thing, if it's greater, doesn't that mean we would be adding 1/4 to 7/8? That's not the same thing as dividing, right? So that's a no. We're not going to pick choice E. All right, so on your piece of paper, what would I expect to see? I would expect to see this algorithm. I would expect to see maybe this written down as your evidence for letter choice D being correct. And then I would also expect that you would show that this algorithm matches choice A, maybe put an A next to it. All right, so good luck finishing this up.